So, Matthew, I get to flex the lack of muscles and smash a couple of drivers. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, this is the fun part, hey? This is where the big dog comes out and we can really test where you're at the moment.
Yeah, which won't be fast, I wouldn't imagine, but I'm excited because I really want to bring the spin rate of this down, and with all the fancy technology we've got going on here, I'm excited to see where you steer me.
So a lot of the big changes from G410 to G425 were really based around increasing forgiveness. So we're making a more forgiving golf club,
right,
but we're able to control ball flight just as much. So we don't have as much movable weight from a directional perspective, but we're really focusing on control.
Right.
We may look at different shafts and different heads for you. When we did this previously, we were in the 410 plus,
yep,
which is the more forgiving head and a shaft that's a little softer in the tip.
Yep.
Right? Now that swing stuff's changed a little, we might need to focus a little differently on a couple of different variables within the golf club.
Yeah, nice.
So what we'll get you to do is we'll get you to hit a couple of shots with your driver.
Yep.
We're going to capture a little bit of data. We're going to use the shaft analyzer to look at a couple of different options and then see if we can't fine tune that for you.
All right.
All right, so when you're ready, let's go ahead and hit a couple of shots for me.
You give it to it, huh?
Yeah, nice and smooth.
It will be nothing but, mate. There's not much juice in this tank. All right, good to go?
Good to go. Great swing.
Decent.
Great swing.
And that's what I've found, if anything, with this weapon. I found like I can play a decent shot, but the height of it, I'd like to be able to bring down a touch.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's all.
So you see it climbing a little more through the air?
Yeah, and it's even to the point where I start to worry about the climb,
Okay.
especially into the breeze shots. I'm like, oh, and I don't want to be messing around with my ball position to change that. Little high right.
Yeah, in our conditions here in Melbourne, obviously, we don't want to see too much ball flying up into the air with the wind conditions around the sandbelt golf courses. So
no, and if I'll just try to, give this one a real solid hit, like as hard as I would on a course, I guess, if I'm trying to ramp one. So a little low on the face, that'll come out lower. But yeah, pulley. And even that still spins a bit and obviously pulled the ears off it.
yeah.
But
So we'll take that one out and get you to just hit one more. That's a really different ball flight than the previous couple.
yeah.
Just so we can get an accurate reading there. It's a better swing, well done.
A little thin again.
No, we got 3 good shots.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple of things that we focused there. You know, your club head speed, we get around the 112 mile per hour. It's not too bad. Yes, it's probably down from the heady days of back when you're playing a lot more golf.
Yeah.
But we are seeing the spin rates closer to 3,000 cycles.
Right.
So just under 3,000, we are definitely seeing too much backspin where we're losing some effective distance.
Right.
So we're going to look to dial that back. A lot of fitters, a lot of different golfers are trying to get towards a very, very low spin rate number because it can produce more distance. But if we go to not enough backspin, we get less stability on the golf ball and we start to hit it more sideways.
Yeah.
So there is always going to be a trade-off there in trying to optimise that number. For you, our target's going to be somewhere around the 2,400 cycles. Right. Now, again, it could be head, could be shaft, and it's probably a combination of the two.
Yep.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the shaft. So in your 410 there, we had the even flow and a 6.5, so we had quite a firm shaft, a reasonable amount of mass to it, but it probably wasn't the most stable shaft in that range at the time.
Right.
We may look at something that's going to be a bit more stable for you to generate less backspin.
And when you say stable, is that just a backspin related or also side spin?
It's majority backspin related for you. With these driver heads, there's enough forgiveness in there for you not to worry too much about that. Yeah,
because that's what I honestly found with the G410 is that I could swing away at it, even that. Like that'll still find left rough and it was low on the face and all the rest of it. That wasn't an issue. I could feel pretty confident that I was going to get it moving. But yeah, I guess the subconscious thoughts were around the height and therefore the distance. And once that starts to get in your head, you start to, almost try to swing differently to bring it down. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so often with the harder hitter, one of the trade-offs that we'll have in particular is to make a golf ball go straighter with driver. Increasing backspin is definitely a benefit.
Yeah,
right? The ball will go straighter with more backspin. The reason why a sand iron goes straighter than a forehand.
Yeah.
All right, so if we can get that and can keep that consistently, we're going to get more consistent direction.
Yeah.
But the better player who hits it harder will tend to see that climb up a little too much, and that's where we start to see some issues with distance or with ball flight. Yeah. So it's finding that optimal for us to get the ball consistently forwards enough, as well as getting the peak height we're looking for.
And do you look at face loft for that as well?
Definitely, yeah. We're definitely going to look at loft, dynamic loft in particular. With these drivers, we can obviously adjust loft as well as lie angle quite easily to generate the ball flights that we're looking for.
Yeah, because that's what I've also found too with a lot of my guys and girls that I coach is that if they've only got a slow swing speed, they just like getting the ball up and spinning is you know no different than almost getting it on and running. So there's a break-even point there where you know it's not just about one number, which everyone used to look for. I want to launch it at 12, I want to spin it at 3.5, and it doesn't. For me, at all work like that these days. It can be really varying for every person.
Exactly right, and conditions as well. So the analogy I often use is the garden hose. So if you turn the garden hose on full ball and you point it at the ground, it comes out really fast, makes a puddle. As you lift the garden hose, the water starts to travel further and further to the point where if you point it up too high, it's going to come down, hit you on the head. So we're looking for that optimal flight for you to get that peak launch angle as well as peak height, but then some roll out and land at the other end.
And at the moment, fraction high and fraction spinny.
Exactly right. So let's have a quick look over here at the shaft analyzer.
Ooh, this is fancy.
So this is something that Ping have introduced now, and I've actually brought it to the marketplace to give fitters as well as golfers a little bit more understanding of what we're looking for optimally. Now, within our fitting charts, which I looked at previously, we said your spin rate needs to come down a little, all right? Firstly, with your club head speed in your transition, the first recommended shaft is the Ping Tour shaft in a 75 gram X-Flex.
Is 75 heavy or heavy-ish?
75 is on the heavier side, yes. Now the heavier shaft means that there's more material in it, so there's less flexion, a little bit more control for the faster swinger.
Right, so I guess lightening that up won't help my club head speed or anything really?
We may generate more speed, but as soon as we take material out of the shaft, it starts to flex or deflect more, and then we start to get inconsistency. So even though you've lost a little bit of horsepower over the years, you still express enough that we do need to look into some of those heavier options possibly. Otherwise, we're going to start to tip or cut shafts from the tip in lighter versions. So that Ping Tour shaft's a 98.3% match for your club head speed and how you generate
match made in heaven,
some force. When we move down a little further, this actually shows the 3 aftermarket shafts within the Ping range. So it shows the Tour 75. The Aldila Rogue, which is sort of the equivalent of what you've got in yours, and then the Ping Tour 65, which is the lighter version, but you'll see how that percentage has dropped off.
And when you see a drop off in percentage, well, what I deem is quite significant, 10 or 15%, what's that equating to? Total distance, 15% loss, or is it just a 15% efficiency loss?
Yeah, more efficiency. So this is equating more to your club head speed and transition. At the moment, that lighter shaft's just going to overflex. You're not going to have any control on it. When we move down a little further, you'll see there are 5 aftermarket shafts available. The top one here being the Diamana, and that is a 98.4% match. Similar weight and a similar flex. So often we can move towards something a lot more expensive, which may give us a benefit. In this case, the shaft analyzer is telling us it's 0.1% different. For a driver that's with that shaft's going to be upwards of $1,400 at retail. So a lot of money for very minimal gains. So what we're going to do first is we're going to test the G425 Max. Similar loft, we're going to turn it down a little bit to start, but we're going to start in the 75 gram X and see how we go. Okay, perfect. You take that for me.
Head looks good, Matty.
So we're going to repeat the process. The head looks great. It's a little different sound. The shape's still fairly similar. Again, a little more forgiving, most definitely.
And you say same loft?
Yep.
So we haven't altered that even though it's spinning too much?
I've turned it down a little, but not too much because your launch window's actually pretty efficient.
Okay, just gets up after that.
That's exactly right.
All right. Ready to go?
Fire when ready.
Decent, little Healy.
Take it. So actually club head speed came down a mile per hour there, but you increased ball speed by nearly 3 miles per hour.
Right, so what was club head speed? 110 or 111?
Yeah, 109.1 that last one, so it dropped down a little bit.
Yep. That'll turn over, but...
It's good shape.
Yeah, look, I like to sling them. Get that when you get a bit handsy with your action, but
exactly right.
That is a shot that I would play for. Obviously, that's hooked too much, but I like aiming down the right and slinging it a little bit.
Well, especially again in our conditions, that going draw can often roll out, give you a lot more yardage.
Yeah. Plus looping with the great man Allenby and watching that shot be so successful.
Exactly right.
It's hard not to look at it and like it. All right, I'll go at this one. That's decent. A little pop right, I would have thought, unless it's cambering back.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah, so that I felt slightly high and right on the face, but decent.
Okay. So first things first, just looking from a numbers perspective, we've seen the ball speed increase about 3.5 mile per hour from your G410.
Is it really?
So that's a lot. At your speed, that's a big gain.
In your opinion, is that just shaft, or is there any weight difference in it?
It'll be marginally through loft, but it is a heavier focus of that weight directly behind the golf ball.
Wow.
So it's a transfer of energy that's more effective, where your smash factor's gone from 1.44 with your 410 up to 1.49 with your G425.
Yeah.
So it's as efficient almost as it can be. Now what that's equated to is a very similar launch, 4 metres more total distance.
What is the launch, just out of curiosity?
11.7 degrees.
Okay.
So it's still on the lower end of optimal, but it's good for Melbourne golf. But the spin rate's still probably 250 cycles higher than where we want it.
Right.
So the head's giving us good benefits from ball speed and the shaft's working, but we're still getting that climb that we probably don't want to see.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is shift to the LS Tech, or the lower spinning head,
Yep.
to see if that gives us that 200 to 300 cycles less backspin.
Beautiful.
All right. We're going to keep that shaft. I'll grab that from you. Thank you. You can hold that for me for a sec. So.
And the LST, design-wise, shorter?
Yep, a little shorter front to back, more pearl shape, so slightly taller in the crown.
I was going to say, yeah, higher in the face, yep.
Yeah, exactly right. Traditionally, what they've done, manufacturers, to move the centre of gravity forward to reduce backspin, they've had to physically move a weight in the golf club.
Yeah.
What our engineers have done, it is more through engineering of shape and size. So the geometry is a little different. We've still got the high MOI, which is what we need.
Yep.
Okay, so we've moved to the LS Tech.
So has this got a lot less loft? Like, I know you were just tweaking it there, but any less loft than what I just hit?
Static loft is exactly the same, or the measured loft is exactly the same, so we haven't changed that.
It just looks less.
Yep, so the taller face.
Yeah, so that's awesome, because already in my head,
Yeah.
it all comes down to the head, Matthew.
We know that.
I don't feel like I need to keep this down, and that's awesome, because the other one just already felt like, or looked like, I should say, it was going to spin, but this just feels a lot less loft, but it's not.
Excellent.
All right, barrel.
Give it a rip.
Blocked it.
That's okay. So you'll notice a little difference in the sound. By design, a ping driver, they try and fine tune that frequency to make sure it's a pleasing sound. But anytime you change the geometry, so either shorter or larger,
Yep.
the frequency will change slightly.
But what I love about that, honestly, and I love it, visually, I know it's a launch monitor, but that's 5 to 15 yards lower in height, and I toe blocked it.
Yep.
That would normally balloon on me.
Yeah, agree. Well, that actually spun less than the previous one, and you mishit it.
Yeah, I missed it high right on the
Yep.
face, so that's super encouraging for me. It's pretty
Great swing.
decent.
No, you made a good pass at that one. There's that go and draw we were talking about.
Yeah, that's turning obviously, but that's not far off my stock.
Yeah, so the big benefit we see there is much the same ball speed, 0.9 of a mile per hour faster than the previous golf club.
About 110 or
Similar
something?
launch, but 340 cycles less backspin.
Really?
And for you, that equates to 1.5 metres more carry, nearly 7 metres more total distance.
Yeah, right.
Just by bringing that spin down and optimising the ball flight.
And already, two completely different ball flights. High right sort of pop out and a turnover, but the actual trajectory and look of it isn't too dissimilar.
Yep.
And that's what I found I've missed. This is really good. Don't know. A little bit off balance, but
That's all right, shows up in your dance moves. Right there, a little recovery. So kind of what we've seen early on here is you've still had that PGA Tour ball flight, all right, where it's high and bombing, what you'd see in the US more so, but without the PGA Tour speed. You've
Yeah.
lost those few mile per hour.
Yep.
Now we're starting to see that being a little bit more user-friendly
so
and get a bit more yardage.
I'm going to try about once around, twice around. I'll really try to give it to it on a par 5 or something.
Excellent.
And sling it a touch. So I'm going to try the exact same thing here. Just see what mile an hour I can create and spin. little low on the face.
Wasn't a bad shape though.
Ooh.
All hooky.
Didn't see that.
Let's go ahead and hit one more for me, please. Ball speed was definitely faster. I think you just healed that a little. Low on the face. All right, so that last variable we talk about here when we look at shaft.
Yep.
Okay, so even though this shaft is heavier and it's on the stiffer side from a measurement perspective, there's every chance that it still has a little bit too much activity here, that if the club starts rotating, it has trouble slowing down and we can get that left miss sometimes,
right,
which we don't want, obviously. Yep. All right, so we're just gonna shift out of this Tour 75X. As I said, from a production perspective, we can tip this shaft to make it stronger, so it is an option, but we are gonna try one of the aftermarket shafts here that has a little less torque and a bit more stability through the tip.
Right.
More so for that one where you do go after it, and what we'd need to do is understand how often you're going to do that on the golf course, and whether it's required. Yeah.
And also, if you do go after it, like I'm probably a bit more handsy on those shots than I should be. So.
Well, exactly right. Again, because the body doesn't move quite as freely as it used to, huh?
No. Okay. Ready?
Ready when you are. Good swing. So straight away, and again, indoors, it's harder to see, but that started just right of centre, whereas the previous ones were certainly starting left.
Right.
So the shaft's not as active through the tip, the club's not rotating as quickly. You delivered more of the centre of the face.
Speed down on that?
No, about the same.
Okay. I'll try to just ramp this a touch.
Good move.
Any faster or not really?
Good move. Yep, that's your furthest for the day. Club head speed no faster, but ball speed was faster. And again, we're getting that launch and spin more optimised to where we're now just under the 270 metres, so hitting that 300-yard mark. Still got it.
Barely.
Might need an ambulance to get out of here, but we've still got it for now.
All right, over 300, Matty. Here we go. Oh, good.
Super. Okay. So club head speed's still efficient. We're still getting plenty of club head speed. We're now capturing much more ball speed with that driver. The spin rates come down, so we've seen a good 300 to 400 cycles less backspin. Yeah, right. And for you, now that equates to an increase of 16 metres total. Wow. Over where we were with your G410, which is a big gain in performance.
Yeah, that's huge.
So a couple of things from that. So the big changes that we talk about here, first off, is in the head. Yep. All right, so we haven't changed the head shape greatly and those sort of things, but what we have given you there is the LS Tech, or the lower spinning golf club. By doing that, we've enabled the ball flight to be more penetrating. Yep. Still got the ability to go after it, all right? So one of those benefits of that 425 is having the centre of gravity further back. We've still got stability. Right. So you can swing harder at it without worrying so much about losing direction. Yeah. A little less loft, all right? Not a huge amount. That driver there is 9 degrees set at 9. We can move that down to 7.5 or up to 10.5. So we have got that variability within it.
But I love that just from a visual standpoint anyway, because you just, as you say, you didn't get the heebie-jeebies standing over it that I felt like I needed to keep it down. I could just swing away and that's much better visually.
And then the last thing is shaft. Okay, so we have the options within the ping range, which worked well. That 75 gram X in the Tour shaft gave us good performance. Yeah. But moving up to something in aftermarket for you, I think when you go after it, does give us that higher level of stability.
So you're telling me I have to spend the cash?
I'm telling you it's going to cost you a little bit extra to get to that ball flight that you're looking for consistently for those ones where you really step on it. Yeah. At the moment.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, that's a no-brainer for me because you know, obviously you don't want even the slightest bit in the back of your head that going at one's going to turn over on you. So yeah, that's just save your bickies.
Yeah, exactly right. So 300 or 400 cycles less backspin's awesome. Yeah. Moving it to 15 to 17 metres more distance is fantastic, but no real sacrifice in dispersion, which is really what we're looking for you with the amount of golf you're playing as well.
Yeah, well, 5 or 10% almost gain in distance is ridiculous. So that's awesome, really good. And as I said, yet again, same thing, the old visual, it just looks better because I know my issue, which is that high right pop out. That just looks like a nicer more penetrating flight.
Yeah,
Love
if
it.
you can make that good golf swing consistently, then that's all we really want you to achieve.
I don't know about consistently, as we saw, but I can
More often.
Yeah.
More often.
More often. Brilliant. Can I keep that?
You can keep that one, put it in your bag.
Yes, and that's got the fancy shaft.
It has, yes.
You built it.
Good job. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Matty.